Apple, ticker AAPL, sued OpenAI in federal court in Northern California on Friday, accusing the AI company of taking Apple's trade secrets to accelerate its own push into consumer devices. The complaint lands as publishers seek court sanctions against OpenAI in a separate Manhattan case tied to what they allege were misleading statements about tracking copyrighted material inside its systems. Apple's filing, reported by CNBC, frames the dispute as a sharp break from the company's 2024 collaboration that brought ChatGPT into the iPhone software. That partnership has since cooled after OpenAI moved towards building hardware, including a $6.4 billion purchase of former Apple designers Jony Ive's startup I.O. products. For consumer and investors, both the Apple suit and the publisher sanctions push raise the same practical stake, whether OpenAI can be forced by courts to preserve records and prove what data or know-how it used, which can drive damages, injunctions, and product delays. Apple's court papers allege that OpenAI chief hardware officer Tang Tan, previously an Apple vice president, steered recruiting conversations toward extracting confidential deals from Apple employees who were interviewing. Tan is named as a defendant. Apple also accuses OpenAI of encouraging departing Apple staff to sidestep internal security steps during their exits. The suit names Chang Lu, described as a former Apple employee who joined OpenAI, and alleges Lu took an Apple laptop. In its filing, Apple contends Tan asked candidates to bring physical Apple components to interviews for show and tell sessions aimed at pointing out additional non-public information. Apple says the effort extended beyond individuals to coordination with business partners. Yeah. Apple further claims OpenAI asked an outside hardware partner to use its metal finishing method Apple says it had created, while suggesting Apple had authorized that work. Apple is seeking damages and court orders that would bar OpenAI from using its alleged secrets and require it to stop. An OpenAI spokesperson responded to the allegations in a statement to Benzinga saying, quote, "We have no interest in other companies' trade secrets. We remain focused on building innovative technology that empowers people everywhere," end quote. The souring relationship hasn't gone unnoticed by industry watchers. Tech journalist Alex Heath, who covers the AI race and writes the Sources newsletter, said Apple executives were, quote, "ice cold," end quote, when he asked about their OpenAI partnership at the Worldwide Developers Conference. Quote, "Now we know why," end quote. And he noted that senior leaders from both companies happened to be at the Sun Valley Conference this week. Heath added that while it was still reading the complaint, it contained, quote, "some cringe details," end quote. Bloomberg's Mark Gurman added further detail on the scale of the dispute. According to Gurman, Apple says OpenAI has hired roughly 400 people from the iPhone maker to date, quote, "a gigantic number." Gurman also reported that Apple characterizes the lawsuit as unrelated to the company's partnership around ChatGPT in Siri, an arrangement that OpenAI had itself considered suing Apple over. You following all that? Meanwhile, OpenAI is also battling publishers led by the New York Times in federal court in Manhattan over allegations that its models were trained on journalism without permission. In that case, the publishers are asking the judge to sanction OpenAI, arguing it withheld data sets and ChatGPT usage records that they say are key to testing copyright claims. The sanctions request points to accusations, that OpenAI claimed it could not locate copyrighted material inside the systems, while testimony from OpenAI employees cited by publishers as suggesting searches were possible after all. The publishers also allege OpenAI compressed and deleted vast amounts of conversation logs while the dispute was underway. OpenAI has pushed back in that case, saying producing conversation records could expose user privacy. A spokesperson called the publisher's allegations false and said the company would keep defending user privacy and fair use principles. Apple's lawsuit adds another front to the same tension between evidence preservation and privacy, because Apple's claims focus heavily on how information moved through interviews, laptops, and supplier interactions. Apple's product roadmap has already shifted, with the company's next Siri upgrade slated for fall, built on Google's Gemini models instead of ChatGPT. According to CNBC, Apple's complaint also names I/O Products, the startup OpenAI bought, as a defendant. So again, this is not over. I'm not sure where it's going to go, but I got to imagine that this is not the last of what we've heard about trade secrets being stolen, brain drain from one company to the next, and how improper it is. And then all of a sudden, a bunch of things kind of look similar. Would not be shocked at all to see any of that. Jay says, I do believe there is a law about this, corporate espionage, LOL, but whatever. Yeah, there are laws about that. The question, though, is going to be, are they going to be able to prove this stuff in the setting of a court? I don't know. It definitely looks shady on the surface here.